Syndicate at 60 frames. Assassin's Creed Syndicate gets 60 frames. The 60 frames you never saw. The secret 60 frames of Syndicate. I haven't thought of the video title yet. I am Couch Coop. As you may have guessed, we have had a 60 frame per second patch drop for Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which came out in 2015. It's going to blow your minds what this game looks like now. This is 9 years old. By the way, very quick clip of Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered in the background here. Was not impressed with that. Can I have something in the comments about whether that's worth pushing on still? Because 3 was one of the strongest in memory for me. And talking of senior moments, I had quite a large one with playing this game prior to the patch coming out. Sheer coincidence, I was planning on doing a full-blown Syndicate PlayStation 5 review because I remember when I was doing the comparisons with Unity and Black Flag that it ran really well and looked really good. At no stage did I think, geez, this needs a 60 frame patch. Like, I'm serious, at no stage did I see any massive frame drop. This Creed comes with a winch mechanic, which puts you massive distances across big cavernous gaps in streets or between big buildings, and you'd think that the engine would chug a bit, but no, it's a pristine piece of software even before that patch dropped in yesterday. So back to that senior moment. Today, I'm straight on the game. I'm like, oh wow, that patch would have dropped last night, probably 12 o'clock, something like that. Ubisoft have been talking about it for 2 days now. So I'm back in the game and I'm like, wow, this is just beautiful. HDR's looking great, pans are brilliant, detail on the character, absolutely amazing. Yeah, you know where this is going. What did you do for homework, Coop, in preparation for this review? Homework is always a reference to a film that I'll watch that aligns as closely as I can get it to the subject matter of the video game. Today it was From Hell with Johnny Depp. Don't ask me why. I had pleasant memories of a decent Victorian London. It's kind of hit and miss. Depp's got a face like a smack dance the whole way through the film. It's probably something to do with his ex-wife and the cleaning bill, but it's worth rewatch. You've got Ian Holm in there and you've got the amazing Robbie Coltrane, both of which aren't with us anymore. Not an absolutely awful film. I'm trying to think of other good Victorian Londons in films. Bram Stoker was the only one I could think of, and I can't cope with Keanu's accent, so that was off the menu. Syndicate is set in the year 1868. That is the year that the first ever traffic light was invented and installed. We will come back to its nighttime aesthetic, but it's one of the strongest in all the Assassin's Creed games for me. And the city as well, it's back to the roots with the metropolis being the star of the show. I grew up in the part of England where Valhalla is set, and I lived 12 years in this city. Seeing London, and I spoke about this before in the original comparison video, with this much vigour and colour and life, but still existing to its bedrock structures and roots. I'm talking about Westminster almost being identical. Some of those places have not changed in like 200 years. It's an amazing accomplishment getting this city to look so alive like this in 2015. Do not take that statement lightly. I've just come off the back of that Red Dead Redemption 2 fishing trip video, which was colossal. I was in that universe for like 25 hours to grab that footage, and that's one of the best open world games to be made, full stop. This did not fall that far behind it. Other games, which I shan't mention by name, Outlaws, have not really given us that magic that we saw way back with some of these older Ubisoft games. Now, you don't have a mount, but you do have carriages, and these are used to also hop on like islands if you want to get across the road. You can also jump someone else's carriage, and there are slight variants on them. Smaller ones, bigger ones. There's commercial ones that are buses, advertising vehicles, fire engines even. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more on performance change in what carriage you've stolen. This is Nelson's column, relatively new, only been there 20 years by this point. If you've been down to London, you'll know that those lines are all still there. This whole area is just identical. And of course, scaling that column was absolutely awesome. You can see the eagle at the top there signifying that it's a synchronization spot. Not too clear on this game where those are all the time, and they're not as frequent as other Assassin's Creed games. It's not a Valhalla situation, and it's okay not having to worry about synchronizing every couple of steps. I was talking about having a senior moment at the start of the video. Well, I've tried to hold back on it as long as I possibly can, but you are not looking at the newly patched version of this game. I will timestamp for people who genuinely came here for some useful information, but so far, none of this is post-patch footage. Just very briefly, I want to talk about where we're up to with the combat mechanics of this game and the Assassin's Creed series. Essentially, attack is on square still. It's only one real melee button. It wants to lean on range with these knives and darts, but it does come with someone that you focus on. You'll see this white outline, so you can sort of cue things up a bit. Against modern Assassin's Creed games, it does feel very strange, even simplified to a certain extent. This isn't a terrible thing, I just think it's part of the evolution of the series, and also probably a consequence of them wanting to push that range. You've got shoot on triangle, they're shooting at you, there's all reload speeds attached to how good your gun is, how much you've got in your clip, and also the daggers and darts. They seem to be primary on the combat front. Back to that senior moment thing. I know I'm on my third swing at this. I'm beavering away getting the footage thinking, wow, this game really does hold up well, and I'm glad I'm getting to show my audience the PlayStation 5 plus this update. Alert comes in, notification that it's starting to install it. I've not even got it on the system. I'm playing the base game like a plum, thinking I'm looking at 60 frames per second. I do think that's testament to how well made this game was in the first place. Yeah, it was still at 1080, but the 60 frames really is the cherry on that almost perfect Assassin's Creed cake. Right, can we change over? I'm so sorry I pulled you up to 7.5 minutes. It is so smooth. It feels like it's on the SSD or something. I swear the load times are reduced as well. It's such a welcome patch. Did not realise that those frames were technically in and around 30, dipping when you were panning, when there's a lot of NPCs on screen, or if you've got a lot of enemies triggered in different status effects, that will sometimes catch it out. But so far, amazing. Pegged 60 frames all over the place. Some of the vehicle traversal also, particularly when you have those battles and there's a lot of particles, you're ramming people, it was also dipping then, and I wasn't really noticing it too bad, but everything is nice and consistent when travelling around in your horse and cart. I also don't quite know how they're pulling a lot of this reflection stuff off either. The pavement detail, the cobblestones, all the tiles on the tops of the roofs, even green bits of moss on certain areas. There's a lot of love in the detail. And back to the sort of Unity Black Flag comparison, this one still retains really good roof jumping, being able to get across the tops of houses just like all the original Creeds were pushing. And with that winch, it makes it even more easier to sort of stay above street level, which is something I really love doing in Assassin's Creed. It's tough to do that in Valhalla or even Odyssey. They have big areas where there are no traversable buildings. Let's just remember that year again. Look what happens to this crowd dispersion technique when I fire off my weapon here. And you're looking at Cyberpunk could not even get anywhere near this on its launch. Even now, the NPCs do not react this well, go in the right direction. They've all got repeat animations. Some of them will just squat down and have what looks to be a number 2. I think a lot of this points to, and we've seen it with BioWare, other older companies, Bethesda, the old talent of the last 10, 15 years has kind of moved on. They've sort of gone. Even the Dragon Age situation with remastering those older games, no one in the company is there anymore who knows how to tweak their engine, so they can't touch it. There seems to be this legacy of information not being passed down. I spoke about this in the Red Dead 2 thing, and looking at games from 10 years ago, you really start to see this. It's exactly the same with film and even, dare I say, music. Here's some funny footage of one of the creepiest NPCs popping out of a trapdoor just as when I thought I'd got rid of him. And I think it's Saeed from Lost doing the voice acting here. The face definitely looks similar. Am I being racist? Here's one of the closest things I can call a performance issue. You heard me mention earlier about different status effects on enemies, whether they've detected you or even if they're tranquilized. Some of those arenas can get a bit laggy because there's just so much going on in them. Again, 2015. That brings me back to some of the new stuff that this game has put in, including the sort of hostage-taking mechanic. You can approach somebody, hit circle, and grab them, walk around with them. You can technically blend in whilst you've got hold of them, and you can escort them out of an area if there's someone you need to take alive. It's a bit of a fiddle. I'd much rather trank them and then remove the flaccid body, but each to their own on that one. Back to that evening mechanic and the nighttime look of this whole city, some missions will adjust the time of day automatically for you. I'm not sure if it ticks over in real time when you're in map. I'd like some comments on that. But on that new stuff subject, there's some really cool horrible murder mystery missions that are put in and around the map that are very different to the normal mechanics of solving puzzles in the game. They're about interrogating people and other people not getting suspicious within this little like Cluedo-esque arena. It's not terrible, it's not my cup of tea, but it was really welcomed against this gothic Victorian aesthetic, which totally points to, you know, the whole Jack the Ripper. There is even a spring-heeled Jack quest in this game. If you know the lore on that one, he's probably more terrifying than the aforementioned. But the independent light sources on all the carriages, the way the street lamps look, that ambience is amazing. It's one of the better looking misty, cobbled street, dingy Victorian London games. There's not too many of them out there. I've just thought about the Order 1886, I'm going to say. That is definitely due to be rolled out again. I don't think that combat was that bad. And that was made during a time where video games were unbelievably good. So maybe a fresh look at that is in order, pun intended. And finally, one of the main stars of the show is the River Thames. It's awesome to traverse it. There's even missions on it. You have to hop over all of the different craft if you want to get across and you're not on a bridge. There's even territories on there, sabotaging different cargoes. It's an excellent idea to have running right through that whole map. I was, of course, Couch Cube. I very much look forward to seeing you down there. I've just put Odyssey out on the PlayStation 5. I recommend a look if you're into your AC games. And I can't get Origins working on my PC via Game Pass. I think it's something to do with that damned Ubisoft app. Can I have something in the comments, please?
I'm waiting on you. I'm cooking. Any special orders?
I mean, every single option makes me transgender. There's no option not to be transgender.
You wouldn't look stupid in a dress, if that's what you wanted to wear.
Any more questions? Huh? Little cheeky. Oh,
Ah, shit. They're still holding it. Sorry.
I can't read minds. Ew. You like flirting with me? Knock it off. Get in the car.